Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Let's get ready to rumble! Seattle's got to make a stop. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to throw it back to Goff! Who had that on the bingo card? Touchdown Lions!
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. It is the Main Event Football Show. I'm your host, Main Event Mike, and like always, we are here to talk about football, specifically Detroit Lions football. Even in the offseason, even on July 21st, training camp is just underway. We're here talking about it. We've been here talking about it, and we're going to continue to be here talking about it. We are broadcasting live into our own Facebook page. Please go over to the page and give us a follow. It's the Main Event. Also broadcasting live into the 360 Radio Network. You can go to 360radionetwork.com. Check it out. Listen to some great music as well. Thanks to everyone over there for letting us go. Also in the Huddle Sports Network on Roku TV, and also broadcasting live into, what's the name of it? Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. Our good friend JB letting us go in over there and broadcast as well. Put your comments in. Definitely want to hear from you. Want this to be an interactive show. Not a lot to talk about. I mean, if you watched Dan Campbell's press conference after opening training camp, it was a lot of stuff. Nothing really, huge news. We did get some news over the weekend that Levi Onwuzurike will be out for the entire 2025 season, torn ACL. Dan Campbell said that this crept up on him right after they signed the one-year deal to keep him on the team. And a lot of Lions fans are saying, let this guy go. It's Emmanuel Moseley all over again with these injuries and not being able to stay on the field or get on the field. I mean, but folks, you've got to understand, this is not Emmanuel Moseley. This is not a bargain basement free agent signing, okay? This isn't some undrafted free agent. Levi Onwuzurike was drafted in the second round. He was the 41st overall pick in the draft. Dan Campbell's not going to let an asset like that just walk away. He's going to stick by his guy. When Levi played last year, he looked good. We drafted him. He was injured. And a lot of people gave Brad hell for that, for drafting injured guys. It seems to be his MO. But in the world of NFL general managers, folks, value is the name of the game. And guess what? I have a shocking revelation for you. The NFL, the injury rate in the NFL, 100%. Every NFL player gets an injury. If they're in the league over any exorbitant amount of time, they'll have more than one injury. It's a 100% injury rate in the NFL. You're not going to get away from an injury. And you can't live your life and you can't run an NFL team looking over your shoulder, oh, this guy's injury prone. Is there even such a thing as injury prone? I mean, when you're looking at value, look at Marcus Davenport. When he's on the field, he's uber productive. He can't go a whole season without making it to IR. But the Tim 20 man reported today that he was the best looking defender in Lions camp. He was dominating because he's fully healthy, and that's what he does when he's fully healthy. And we got him at a bargain price this year. Value's the name of the game, and nobody plays the value better than Brad. You can look at it like, oh, he drafts injured players, but injury is something you can't get away from. Maybe it's ingrained in him because he himself was a player, and his playing career was cut short by injury. For Brad Holmes, it wasn't on the field, it was in an automobile. If you don't know that story, it's very compelling. Brad Holmes was in an auto accident as a defensive lineman for North Carolina A&T University, and his playing days were over. So maybe that's why he has almost a vested interest in these players and their ability and his belief in them to come back from injuries. And injury promotes value when it comes to trading for players, acquiring players. The injury is considered, so there's an opportunity there for value. Levi Onwuzurike is not going to get jettisoned, folks. He will be back in 2026 in training camp to earn a position. Now, whether or not he comes back, this is a torn ACL. Dan Campbell was asked at the press conference, any chance that Levi could come back for the playoffs? He shut it down emphatically. No. They are shutting Levi Onwuzurike down. They're going to eat that money, that extension they gave him, it looks like. They don't have to make that public. We'll see what happens. But trust me, my opinion, Levi Onwuzurike will be back in 2026. There's just too much invested in him with the 41st overall pick. There's too much upside. I mean, he wasn't going to get market value for his position, not even half of that, because he just didn't play enough. So we signed him to a one-year deal on a friendly deal for the team. Now he's going to miss the whole season. It's a bummer because he was starting to look good. He was starting to look like a second-round pick, just the way Brad Holmes had envisioned it when he drafted him and Aleem McNeil in the second and third round. And Aiden Hutchinson. When you look down that line, you throw in a top-notch free agent like DJ Reader, and you're looking at one of the best defensive lines in the entire NFL, and all young. Now, there was a guy named Broderick Martin that was drafted that by now should have been able to mitigate this loss of Levi Onwuzurike. Heck, we moved up. We gave up draft capital to get Broderick Martin out of Western Kentucky in the third round. He hasn't been able to crack the lineup. Even last year, when the entire defensive line's being held together by duct tape, we're calling guys in off the street to play his position. Broderick Martin can't get on the field. Report out of training camp yesterday that Broderick Martin couldn't even move a fourth string tackle off the line. I do not think Broderick Martin will make the team this year. Even as we are hurting, Aleem McNeil hurt, Josh Paschal out, Aiden Hutchinson recovering. Obviously, they're going to manage his load a little. Now Levi Onwuzurike out. Even given all of that, I don't think Broderick Martin's going to make the team. Mekhi Wingo played good when he was in before he tore his ACL last year. He is on pace to make it back in time for the regular season. He's a sixth-round draft pick. How much do we really expect from Mekhi Wingo? We certainly expected more from Broderick Martin than Mekhi Wingo. But yet Mekhi Wingo usurped him and passed him on the depth chart and got into the games last year before he was hurt. I don't think Broderick Martin is going to make it. This is going to go down as a Brad Holmes missed draft pick. Even a Jedi like Brad misses once in a while. Even Howie Roseman misses once in a while. And I think that's what we're going to see with Broderick Martin. A couple of other updates. Before we get into that, let's see who's in the comments. Oh, right on. GREWG. Greg Rice out on the West Coast says, what's good, gents? Oh, Elise Memes, the queen of memes. Go to Elise Memes page. Check it out. She's putting out some, you're putting out some killers these days, Elise. You're just killing me. So excited for training camp. Go Lions. Yes, me too. Ken Ballreich, the papa of JB, Smoking JB's dad. Ballreich comes from the German word meaning I called that. Donkey Kong in the chat today. What's up, fellas? Holmes rules. Lions on the north. Donkey Kong's a homer like me. Holmer. Homer. Davey's in the chat. Says, good evening, One Pride. What's up, Davey? Put it in there. I love hearing from you guys. So a couple more injury updates from training camp. Ennis Rakestraw was in a collision with a receiver and left the field. They did chest x-rays. It's been reported as a chest contusion. Dan Campbell said everything structurally looks good. The x-rays are good. He's definitely going to take a couple days off to rest up, but he should be good to go. Everything looks good there for Ennis Rakestraw. Boy, are we all giving a sigh of relief there. It's another guy drafted injured. too much upside. It wasn't for that injury, he'd have been a first rounder, they say. He had a first round grade. Same with Hendon Hooker. Had a first round grade. We got him in the third round. You're getting value, folks. These injuries are not a marker that he's looking for. It's just when it's there in front of you and you look at this team and how it's constructed, there aren't a lot of holes. You have a little bit of breathing room. Not like some of these teams that are like the Chicago Bears, desperate to get on the winning track. We are not. We're not desperate. We know we're going to be better than 500. If the Lions are below 500 at the end of this season and they don't make the playoffs, I will be shocked. I know the schedule's hard. I know we've lost some pieces on the offensive line, but this team is too good, too well coached up and down the roster for that. I know it's possible. Rakestraw, drafted, injured. Never could get on the field last year. Looking for a bounce back here. Ennis Rakestraw needs to be good. He needs to at least be a frontline starter caliber DB in this league to warrant that second round draft pick. And if he does, and Terrion Arnold takes a leap, and then Christian Mahogany already penciled in to be the starter on the offensive line going into this year, you get 3 frontline starters out of that draft, and you have no choice but to say Brad Holmes did it again. I know that last year's draft class is a little sketchy at this point, with Rakestraw never seeing the field, with Terrion Arnold getting burnt a lot, getting a lot of pass interference calls. But Terrion Arnold wasn't a bust. He's not a bust. He's just developed. He's had some growing pains, but he's always right there with the receiver, and the general consensus is he's going to be fine. I have to wonder how much losing Aaron Glenn is going to affect Terrion Arnold. Roy Lopez, another defensive line injury today in training camp. It was a leg injury, but he did not go back to the locker room. He never went back in the game, never went back in the drills, but he also never left the field. So that's a good sign. Probably nothing. And also Sion Vaki with an undisclosed injury at this point, but all indications are it's not going to be serious. So it is not as doom and gloom. It is not as bleak as what you read all over the internet. Most of my stuff here comes straight from Tim Twentyman, who is right inside with the Lions and does a great job, of course. I do believe Levi Onwuzurike will be back next year, but I do not believe Broderick Martin will be. I just want to be on record to say that. Also, Alex Anzalone dealing with a hamstring injury, was not in training camp. Not concerned about this at all. He's also in a contract dispute. A hamstring injury is a soft tissue injury that if it hurts, no one can prove that it doesn't. And maybe he doesn't want to risk an injury before he gets that new contract. Don't know this for sure, but this happens a lot in the NFL. A lot of phantom hammy injuries when there's a contract dispute. Look it up. Josh Paschal, out till the regular season. They say maybe miss the first 2 games. But with roster construction, they may have to put him on the PUP list, physically unable to perform. And if they do that, he will mandatorily miss the first 4 games of the season. Another defensive lineman. See a pattern here? It's already happening, and it's a residual effect from last year's injuries. Overall, not too worried about it, though. Around the league, Mike Williams, retiring, wide receiver. Spent last year with the Jets. Goes back to the team that drafted him, the Chargers, and is calling it quits. Robert Turbin on SiriusXM radio said that he didn't know firsthand, but he knows from being a veteran that this time of year is very exciting for NFL players. They get to go into camp and show off all the work they've done in the offseason. They come in and they love to show the gains that they've made in the offseason. And he firmly believed that this retirement announcement by Mike Williams is just his body telling him, you can't do it. You can't do it anymore. So congratulations to Mike Williams on a good career. He made over $100 million in the NFL as a wide receiver. A couple of 1,000-yard seasons. The Chargers sure could have used him coming back because their receiving core questionable. Until Quentin Johnston lives up to the draft status, the draft pick that he was in the first round, top 20 pick, which he hasn't. He was outperformed last year by second round pick Ladd McConkey. Then they lost Powell in the offseason. Jim Harbaugh's team is going to run the ball. Make no mistake about that. They drafted Joe Alt last year. They drafted Amarion Hampton this year. So the loss of Mike Williams, while it is big, it doesn't change what Harbaugh is going to do. But I would definitely be looking for the Chargers to go out in free agency and find someone to add to this room for the wide receivers to take Mike Williams' place. Also, TJ Watt, defensive end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, signing a deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 3-year, $123 million deal, averaging $41 million a year, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in league history for the second time in his career. He is the highest paid non-quarterback. What a player. We predicted this in the back chat. People are talking, oh, where would they trade for him? All these mock trades for TJ Watt. No, we just shut that down. He's going to retire a Steeler. This guy is one of a kind. Maybe even greater than his brother. And now the Steelers have made that come to fruition, locked him up. 3 years, $108 million of that money is guaranteed. So while it looks good on paper, like that $41 million a year is more than Myles Garrett got in Cleveland, all of Myles Garrett's is guaranteed, folks. So you tell me, which is a better deal? Sure, on paper, he's the highest paid TJ Watt. Put Myles Garrett, he plays for Cleveland. They do dumb shit like that. Fully guaranteed. Fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson's contract. Fully guaranteed their second-round draft pick just a couple weeks ago. They fully guaranteed Myles Garrett's contract. So at $40 million a year, every year of it guaranteed, or $41 million a year, where only $108 million is guaranteed. So what does all this mean for Aiden Hutchinson? We still got to sign Aiden Hutchinson. Well, we still have Aiden Hutchinson under contract. And we already know what they're going to do. They're going to wait. They're going to wait and make sure that this injury is completely healed. I know this because we've seen the Lions do this before with Taylor Decker's injury 2 years ago. It was time for Decker to get an extension, but he had hurt his ankle at the end of the season. And they waited. He looked good in the offseason, OTAs. They still waited. It wasn't until training camp was about to break that they announced the signing of Taylor Decker. They wanted to make sure that everything went well with the surgery and his ankle was 100% before they did it. And I think that's all we're seeing here with Aiden Hutchinson. Once we see that he's still a beast and the leg's healed fine, everything's good, we're going to see Aiden Hutchinson get done. The thing is if they do it sooner rather than later, it could save them a few million. Don't forget Micah Parsons out there now. Now that TJ Watt's been signed, the dominoes are starting to fall. When will Trey Hendrickson get signed? I don't think they will sign Trey Hendrickson. He's either going to play or get fined every day that he doesn't. That's what the Bengals are going to do, especially now that they've lost Jamar Stewart. I mean, that had to be their backup plan for Trey Hendrickson. On the flip side of that, maybe the Jamar Stewart incident will motivate the Bengals to get Trey Hendrickson signed. Oh, backup plan's out now. He's gone back to college. And there's been some speculation about that too. I looked it up. First round draft pick Jamar Stewart by the Cincinnati Bengals, drafted 17th overall. Upset about some language in the contract. Specifically, if he were to get hurt in training camp, his money would not be guaranteed. Every other team in the league, the language guarantees that they're still going to get paid if they get hurt in training camp. The Bengals took that out. And kudos to his agent who caught it and said, no, we're not signing this. They have both dug in their heels, and now the kid's gone back to college. So what does that mean? Well, the Bengals can still trade him until I think it's the start of the regular season or maybe week 10 of the regular season. I looked it up, but I didn't write it down. The Bengals can still trade him, but they gave up the 17th overall pick for him. So they're going to want something back. He could still go play for Texas A&M when that season starts, that's right. Okay, so once he goes back to Texas A&M, he does. There is a window there where they can trade him, but then when that window closes, he is out of circulation for the Bengals. He can go back into the draft in 2026. He could go to the Canadian League and play. He could go to any other league and play. He could also go back to Texas A&M. He can also come back in the 2026 draft, and he could be drafted by any team except the Bengals. So Cincinnati really has a situation on their hands. It just intensifies, it heightens the situation with Trey Hendrickson now. They've just shot themselves in both feet on this, which is a shame because Joe Burrow had this career of his, the season of his career last year. He was on fire. And now they've signed both of the all-world wide receivers that they have. They have a promising young running back in Chase Brown, a promising tight end in Mike Gesicki. They got a lot of the pieces, especially on offense. But they don't have a pass rush. They didn't have a pass rush last year outside of Trey Hendrickson. And their secondary is suspect. So they are not doing themselves any favors as training camp now breaks. And they don't have a bona fide pass rusher on that defensive line. Oh, the Bengals. What do you know? Let's see who's in the chat. Great take, Mike. You remind me of myself back in 86. Oh, thank you, Greg Rice. In the chat, we've got the Mad Yinzer. Packer fans thought they were getting him. Ha ha. Bengals can't afford Trey Hendrickson. I think they can, Mad. I think they can. They have to. We know that they can kick the can down the road. We know they can convert some to signing bonus. Absolutely, they can afford him. But he's led the league in sacks 2 years in a row. Hell, TJ Watt's getting $41 million. I want $41 million. Myles Garrett's getting $40 million. I want $40 million. Well, yeah, they just both happen to be in the same division as you. Of course they will. They're going to have to. He's worth it. Teron Armstead, the future Hall of Fame offensive lineman, retired this year. And they asked Teron, what are you going to miss, or what are you not going to miss about the NFL? And he said two names. That kid they got in L.A., Jared Verse, don't care if I ever see him again. And that guy in Cincinnati, Trey Hendrickson, don't ever want to see that guy again either. That's big props from a legend, Teron Armstead. This Trey Hendrickson is special. Special. I have to admit, I've only seen him play a couple times, and he wasn't special in those games when I saw him play live. But you see the highlights, and you know the numbers don't lie. This guy's special. Of course, they're going to have to pay him. They're going to find a way. But you've got Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and now you give a fourth super contract to Trey Hendrickson. That's 4 max contracts on your team. That's all you can do. You cannot, there has never been a team with 5. You could get away with 4, but then all your other guys on the roster are below market value. That's the only way you could fit it in under the cap. With TV revenue sharing, the cap is going to go up. That's the good news. With this new thing that we talked about here on the main event a couple weeks ago, viewer capture, the new way that the league is going to be recording the way people watch the game, it's going to cause TV revenue to go up. That is called viewership capture. If you want to look that up in case you missed our show. Or you could always just go over to our page. It's called The Main Event. And then scroll down and check out the show where we talk about viewership capture and what it's going to mean for the salary cap in the future. And it's going to be so good for the salary cap in the future that some of these guys you think you can't sign right now, like Trey Hendrickson, the number is going to be so much more than what the predictions say it's going to be. We know the cap is going to rise, and they predict it's going to rise another 3 or 4 million next year. However, with this new viewership capture thing that's happening, that number might even be higher. And if you're going to bet on yourself and bet on your team as a general manager, you can inflate Trey Hendrickson's contract that will be covered by that future gain in the salary cap that you can see coming over the horizon. It's not here yet, but you could see that with this new technology that's happening, the piece of the pie is going to be bigger for the NFL teams to get a piece of that TV revenue. And you can look down the road and say, we can't afford him now, but we're going to be able to afford him in 3 years. So let's backload this contract with all that money and let's try to make a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow can get you to the Super Bowl even with a half a defense. I mean, the guy's that talented, let's face it. If you don't believe me, just go watch the Netflix series Quarterback, which is on Netflix right now, season 2. Joe Burrow's featured, and the guy's a dog. I mean, an absolute stud when it comes to the quarterback position. Elise says, you going to any games this year, Mike? I'm sure I will. One, somewhere a ticket will pop up. That's $600 a ticket. I sure ain't making any plans, though, I'll tell you that. Motown Mitch in the house. What up, though? Lions rule, Bears drool. Watch out for them Bears, Mitch. The Mad Yinzer says, the dumbest take I've heard from a Packers fan before a Watt extension was a third rounder and a wide receiver, Romeo Doubs. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Let's take a look at that for a minute. A third rounder, yeah. You know, Yinzer, I got to tell you, every time there's a big free agent, our fan base, the Lions, are guilty. The Bears fans are guilty. The Packers fans, I don't usually hear them spouting off that kind of stuff so much because they're so proud of their draft and develop strategy that they've implemented over the years, and you can't argue with it. They've dominated this division my whole lifetime. Little patches here and there. Thank goodness we're in one of the heres or the theirs right now. But guess what? They've made the playoffs 2 years in a row. They're still a playoff team every year. Jordan Love is a frontline quality starter. We know now. Is he Aaron Rodgers in his prime? Doesn't look like it. Not yet. Is he Brett Favre even? No. But he's definitely a frontline starter. He's better than half of the quarterbacks in this league. Caleb Williams, not included. Caleb Williams has yet to prove he's a top half quarterback in this league, but I believe he will be. Oh, John Dorn. It was John Dorn that said, how about a third rounder and Romeo Doubs for TJ Watt? Was that Dorn who said that? Yeah. No. That was just silliness. TJ Watt's going to retire a Steeler. If you know your stuff, you had to know that. What else we got on the list today? Gosh, I think that's about it. We're looking about halfway through. Thanks, everyone, for putting your comments in. If you are watching this live, know that I appreciate you. Please click a like emoji. I got one heart on the platform I'm looking at. Click a like or a heart or a puke or something. Click some sort of emoji. That's how it works. You didn't know that? Click the like button. We appreciate you watching live. We also appreciate you if you're watching on the rebroadcast. This podcast will show up in the feed for eternity. So anytime you're watching, thank you. Still put your comments in. I still go through and read them. We still share the comments in the group. So even if you're watching on the rebroadcast, we appreciate you and we still want to hear from you. Yinzer says, I told him not even Cleveland wants Dobbs. Right. I mean, let's guarantee Romeo Dobbs' contract. Look, Romeo Dobbs has a lot of upside. He's a quality wide receiver, 3 or 2, but not a 1, right? Everybody knows that. Even Packer fans know that. And they know that Christian Watson hasn't been able to stay healthy. Maybe he has the skill set for a number 1 receiver, but he hasn't shown it yet. Dontavian Wicks, solid guy, solid wide receiver 3. Any team in the league would love to have Dontavian Wicks as a wide receiver 3. Bo Melton, sitting way down on their bench. I believe also a quality wide receiver 3 for the Green Bay Packers. All of these guys collectively make a pretty good room. There's just not a clear-cut number 1 in there. So what do? They draft Matthew Golden, the 4th wide receiver taken in the draft. He's 5'11", and now they are just over the moon with this guy. Well, if Dobbs wasn't the guy, Christian Watson isn't the guy. Heck, Jaden Reed, maybe the best slot receiver in the whole NFL outside of Zay Flowers. And Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jaden Reed's a dog. He's a killer. To play on my team any day. Still not a number 1 receiver. If none of those guys panned out to your number one, why is Matthew Golden different now? Tell me, Packer fans, I want to know. You still don't have that go-to receiver. You drafted Luke Musgrave, but Tucker Kraft turned out to be a better pass catcher. I question that draft pick. We'll see if Matthew Golden is everything they want him to be. I have a hard time believing it at this point. Dorn is terrible take after terrible take. It is. It is. And when he is. And then when the takes get bad, he's just got these go-to. Bears still suck. Same old Lions. But he's a shit stir. You got to give him credit. Packers have an interesting imagination. They do. But you know what? That's what winning probably does. I mean, they've never had to endure like Lions fans have. I mean, my whole paradigm, my whole point of view might be different had I grown up with Super Bowl victories, had I come up with year after year having an all-pro quarterback, year after year of winning the division. Maybe my whole demeanor, my whole personality towards sports might be different. It's that losing that built that chip on Lions fans' shoulders. And to say they have an interesting imagination, yeah, I agree. And maybe a little bit jealous that I can't have an imagination like that. My mind is rooted in something completely different. Same here, Joseph. Doesn't really impress that much. Maybe I'm missing something. No, it looks like a solid pick if you need a wide receiver. When you've got a room full of 2s and 3s and guys that can make an NFL roster, I feel like a free agent makes more sense here than another draft pick. Even though this was the first guy they drafted in 20 years in the first round. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're not drafting in the first round, so you're not getting one of those generational wide receiver ones. Maybe that's the reason, and they took a swing at it this year. Honestly, I didn't like Tet McMillan. I know he's got the size, all the tools, all that, but he played at Arizona. And when I watched his highlights, it's just a crossing pattern after crossing pattern. And that's not going to fly in the NFL like it does in the Pac-12. You're not going to get away with that. And he even came out and said he doesn't watch film. He also came out and said that football is not his first love. He loves volleyball. He was a collegiate volleyball player converted into a wide receiver. Tet McMillan, we're talking about wide receiver drafted by the Carolina Panthers. This is a wide receiver that was drafted in front of Matthew Golden. Also, Travis Hunter, drafted number 2 overall by the Jaguars, a wide receiver. You know, these guys weren't available. There was another one who put it in the chat if you can remember who the third wide receiver taken was. I cannot remember. Before Matthew Golden. So, Packer fans, beside themselves about this draft pick. Speaking of beside yourself, we got somebody in the back room. We're going to let somebody in now join the show. Please welcome to the show, Chad Datema. Chad, welcome to the show. Chad is the host of the NFC North Open Mic Night on Wednesday nights on the Huddle Roku Network.
Hey,
What's
thanks
up?
for having me, Mike.
You're welcome, sir. How are you?
Look, I changed my name to your suggestion.
Bigfoot Chad. That's what I'm going to call you from now on, Bigfoot Chad.
So are you getting the comments on Facebook or not?
It doesn't look like it. All I'm getting is YouTube comments. Are there comments on Facebook?
Yeah, I got them right up here. Rocky Krang says, "What's up, Mike?" John Dorn says, "You just can't handle the truth." Then John Dorn says, "So JMO is a 3 because Dobbs and Watson have better career numbers." So yeah. So John, at least John's watching.
Well, thanks for that, Chad, because we are having some problems here where I'm not able to see the comments from anything on Facebook for some reason. We'll get that worked out. In the meantime, we are on YouTube at the Huddle Sports Network. That is the name of the YouTube channel. And also on YouTube at Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. If you are on YouTube, you can head on over there if you want to get your comment in today. So, Chad, did you hear everything that we were talking about, all these reports out of training camp today?
I didn't hear everything because I didn't get home until about 7:20.
Well, the thing we led off with is Levi Onwuzurike being out for the season with an ACL injury. No Levi for the entire season. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I did.
Right, Matt Yinzer, thank you. Emeka Egbuka from Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted. Thank you so much, Yinzer. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Chad.
That's why I'm thinking that Smith, he still might get signed by us after that. I don't know. We'll
100%,
find out.
100%. That's the thing I didn't touch on, so I'm so glad you brought it up. Zadarius Smith's still out there. And I did go on record here quite extensively saying Broderick Martin wasn't going to make the team. Guess what number he wears? 99. So they'll boot him out the door, sign Zadarius, give him the jersey 99. Problem solved. I love that call out, Chad. So also, we had an injury to Ennis Rakestraw. They say it's not going to be serious. Did you hear about the comments from David Montgomery, Chad, about this being, quote, the year of reckoning?
I actually did. And he did a little thing. I saw a skit where he's never been happier and he doesn't want to play anywhere else but Detroit.
Right. And he said, we've been close. And sometimes it's nice to be close, but we don't want to get used to being close. This is it. They're all in. They're pushing all their chips in. And this is the year. This is the year of reckoning, he said. And when asked about it, Dan Campbell said, yeah, we've got to pay off some debts. That means reconcile some debts, like get over that hump, make it to that Super Bowl, and we'll see if they can get it done. Put it in the comments. Want to know what you have to think. We got just a few minutes left. Chad, what else is on your mind? You going to play fantasy football this year?
Yes, I am. Are you going to jump in there too?
Probably not in the league there on the huddle. You can see that big trophy over my shoulder here. The giant fantasy football trophy, boys and girls. Well, I've only got about a month left to keep it because I got to give it back because I didn't win the league this year. So got to give that back and find something else to replace in my background for that. It's been awfully nice having it there behind me for a whole year. But I drafted Christian McCaffrey, #1 overall last year, and that's why I didn't win the trophy again. I also took Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they had the worst statistical years in their career. So last year was a total disaster. Got to give the trophy back, but I'm coming hard this year to get the trophy. Do you have a strategy when you play fantasy football, Chad, as far as like a draft, or do you always take a running back first or always take a wide receiver first? Do you have any kind of formula that you work with?
It depends on where I am in the draft. If I'm in the top half, I always go with a running back, always. But if I'm in the bottom half, then I just go who I feel's best available.
I know that it does depend on the league too and the way the league scores. But if you're just in a standard like dad league, like I'm referring to, I like that strategy also. Running backs are at a premium, and if you're in the top half, there's only 5 running backs really that are worthy of a pick above some of these wide receivers. So if you can get one of them, go. If you can't, I like that strategy to go wide receiver first. The year that I won that big trophy behind me was 2 years ago, and I took Tyreek Hill #1. I had the 7th overall pick. So what happens is in one of those snake drafts where you draft first, you don't draft again for almost 2 whole rounds. It can be very beneficial to start out with a running back because there's still a lot of wide receiver depth left when it comes back around to you. Put in the comments. I'd like to know what you think about fantasy football drafting. It's one of those things that we don't really think about until I don't really think about until it starts to get close. Then all of a sudden I start cramming for it. I don't think that Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley are going to repeat their performances of last year. I do have a couple of dark horse picks. I'd like to hear while I give mine. Think about yours, Trad. If there's a dark horse pick you can give our listeners who you think might be a good, maybe off the radar pick in fantasy football. For me, it is the running back from Cincinnati, Chase Brown. He's going to get all the touches there in Cincinnati in a high-powered offense. You know that they're going to be playing cover 4 a lot on this team. It's going to open up a lot of runs if the running back can get it done. And I think the onus is on him. He's going to have a huge opportunity. I think he's going to be a sneaky good pick that you can usually see him going around the 5th or 6th round, and he might win your league for you this year. I also like Bucky Irving from Tampa. I called that one last year when he was a rookie, and he turned out to be a top 10 fantasy running back. What do you got, Chad? Any dark horses that our people can look at for fantasy draft?
Why? So I can be called a homer? I think you can get David Montgomery in the 3rd or 4th round, and I think he's going to put up 12 touchdowns, 1,000 yards.
I love that. I love that. And you might even be able to get Montgomery even later than that in some drafts.
You might.
But I do see Jahmyr Gibbs being drafted ahead of Demo this year, just like last year. And Jahmyr Gibbs will be a top 10 pick in fantasy drafts. So with that being, then you've got that carry share dilemma, and that pushes his draft status down, Demo. It's the same with Najee Harris and the rookie Omarion Hampton at the Chargers. Najee comes over on a 1-year deal, free agent, and he looks like he's going to be the starter. Then they draft the kid Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. Najee Harris just got a superficial eye wound on July the 4th with a fireworks incident. Supposed to not impede him from starting the season, but it's definitely going to feed more reps in the preseason to the rookie. And if the rookie proves that he's the man for the job, trust me, Harbaugh is going to give him the rock and not Najee Harris. So that's one I'm going to stay away from, drafting San Diego. I still call him San Diego. The Chargers backfield, because I just don't know at this point how good Hampton's going to be or how much of the load they're going to give to Najee. Now, I will say that Najee is a perfect running back for Jim Harbaugh's system. He loves to run between the tackles. He's tough, just what Harbaugh loves to do. So I thought when Najee came over, I'm taking Najee in fantasy in a late round. That's going to be a steal for me. But then Hampton comes along. Now there's this eye injury. Not sold on that. So if you were watching a show a few months ago and I gave that advice, I strike that now. Things have changed. Matt Zinzer says Najee Harris is good, but not explosive. True that. Always aim for wide receiver, whether it's Chase or Jetta, for example. What a great call out. Now, Justin Jefferson, for me, is a stay away. I'll take him in the 2nd round, but I'm not going 1st round. There are plenty of other players. I'm not taking Justin Jefferson with a rookie quarterback. He'll probably still finish as a top 10 wide receiver, but the chances, the odds are not in favor as opposed to, some of these other guys that we're just talking about, Garrett Wilson, guys like that, Terry McLaurin. He's still yet to be signed, but we know he will. He's looking for a big year coming this year. A.J. Brown. I think they're going to pass more in Philly. Sounds ridiculous because they led the league in touches, led the league in rushing, more rushing attempts, more rushing yards. And they have that great offensive line. Why would they do anything different? Well,
they got the great rushing quarterback too.
We saw it in the playoffs. Saquon Barkley was relatively quiet. I mean, he wasn't burning guys for 80 yards of runs. He didn't dominate the Super Bowl. It was their defense that did that. I think things are going to be a little different for Philadelphia this year. People are gunning for him, and I think they're going to have to open up the offense a little bit. They're going to be seeing a lot more 8 men in the box against Saquon, and they're going to have to throw the ball. I definitely would take Jalen Hurts as a fantasy option as well.
Philly's not going to have fun playing the North. They're not.
No, I don't think so either. It's real. Week 11, they play the Lions. That's going to be interesting to see because so many fans and even Lions fans said, if we would have beat Washington, Philly would have smoked us. They were claiming that Philly would have came into Ford Field and smoked the Lions in the title game. I just don't believe that. I think it, We'll never know. So we'll see week 11. That's going to be one to have circled on the calendar for sure. Right on. You got anything else to add, Chad, before we call it a day and come back next week?
Did you see what positions they have our offensive line at currently? What was listed and what people are practicing at?
I did. They have Tate Ratledge penciled in at center. That's a great call out. Basically, from what the coaches are saying, it's his job to lose at center. And they have Glasgow at right guard and Mahogany at left guard.
I thought it was opposite, but
do I have that backwards? It's Glasgow at left guard.
Yeah,
Glasgow at left guard, Mahogany at right guard.
Glasgow and Decker are on the same side. They're helping Mahogany out by putting him next to Penne.
Right, but then you've got, I guess there's no way around it. But Mahogany, a 6th-round pick, he had 90 snaps last year that he was elite, according to PFF. So
82.5, I think, was it?
Yeah, I'm just a little leery. I know this is going to be a growing pain for the Lions. Their schedule is so hard right out of the gate. You take a look at Green Bay.
Call it what it is. It's hell.
Look at these. Look at the schedule. The first 7 weeks, right up to the bye, is going to be really tough.
Yep.
And to have a new offensive line trying to get their feet under them, these young players trying to gel, this new line trying to build some cohesion. If they can make it to the bye week week 8 at 4-3, I think we're right on track to still keep this division in hand. The Vikings, on the other hand, if you look at their schedule, they have the bye week in week 6, and their first 5 games, they could easily come out of them 4-1. Well, some Viking fans even saying 5-0. And then if we take a look at the Packers schedule, coming right out of the gate, they had the early bye, week 5. And they've got Lions, Commanders, Cowboys, tough games. And at Cleveland that they should be able to win. So going into their bye, they could feasibly be 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's, I think Arizona's going to have a great team this year. I'm going to draft plenty of Arizona Cardinals. I think McBride, the tight end, and Marvin Harrison Jr. could be a breakout year for him this year. I do like a lot of the players on those teams as well. And then if we look at the Chicago Bears, their bye week also comes week 5. They got a nice little easier road. Well, they got to play the division opponents. You got to do that anyway. And they do have Dallas, but they get the Raiders. They should be able to win that game. It's a winnable game, even with Geno Smith. Then they get the Saints in there, the Giants. They've got some gimmies because they did come in last in the division last year. Cleveland. And if they win some of these 50-50 games, they could be trying to sneak into the playoffs at the end of the year if Caleb Williams takes a step. John Dorn in the comments says, last dance for the Lions.
Oh, he changed streams?
No. Well, yeah, but I appreciate that. But I think he has a valid point here. Last dance for the Lions. I think that's a pretty extreme take on it, but that window is not wide open like it was. They are no longer ahead of schedule in this rebuild. No. Now they're right on course in this rebuild, and it's time. And I think that's John's point. And John is tapping into something there that Dan Campbell said after the San Francisco loss 2 years ago in the title game. You may never get back here. And even Packer fans know. When they won the Super Bowl in 2010, it was, 1996 before that? The big stretches. It's very hard to get back. And before that, it was in the 60s for the Packers. So John's point is these windows aren't open long. And he says it's last dance for the Lions. But I got news for you, John. The reason why that take isn't good is because all of the core badass players we have are young and under contract or going to be under contract. This team's set up to be a perennial fighter, contender, relevant for the next 10 years.
We have 5 of the top 25 under 25. I mean, no other team can say that. Packers may be younger, but they do not have 5 of the top 25 under 25.
It's true. True, they do have some good young players.
Yes, they do.
John says the Lions are not beating the Packers in week 1. Lions are finished. Window closed. What do you say to that, Chad?
That's John Dorn trolling. That's what I say to it. He's scared of us, or he wouldn't be talking.
Well, think about it. We go in to Lambeau in week 1. Hutchinson's leg is brand new. First game. You would think that's going to have to take some getting used to get your leg back under you and feel confident, push off on it with confidence and know that it's there. There might be a little bit of a slow slip coming out the gate this year for the Lions, especially when you factor in that Frank Ragnow isn't there and Ben Johnson's not calling the plays. Ben Johnson, Frank Ragnow, and Goff not being there together anymore could also hinder how fast this offense takes off out the gate. So the Green Bay Packers being at home, having lost to the Lions, bad taste in their mouth, they want that game bad. You know they do. And they are returning more continuity to their team than we are to ours. You're talking about two teams that are pretty close. They're pretty close in talent level.
But then again, week 1, it doesn't matter who you are. It's anybody's game week 1. You know, people aren't totally up to speed. It's, you know, the bullets are flying. Anybody can win week 1.
That's true. Here's John's point too, and I love it. The Lions will start off slow and then will be hot going into the playoffs, which is good for the Lions. Absolutely. You want to be hot going into the playoffs, like he says there. And when we look at this Lions schedule, these are all winnable games. Giants, Bears, Vikings, Steelers, Rams, Cowboys, Packers. That stretch, we can gain some wins even if we have some losses here in the early part. Even if we don't win the division and we get in as a wild card, then our chances are still pretty good because this roster is good. This team was 8-0 on the road last year. I like us on the road. So this team loves to play the role of the underdog. So I'm not too worried about it if that's the way it shakes out. Chad, thanks for being on the show today. Don't forget, everybody, watch Chad's show on this very network, on the Huddle Sports Network on Roku TV. It's on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Central Time.
Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 5 p.m. Central Time. So 6 Eastern Standard Time right here on the Huddle Sports Network. NFC North Open Mic with Bigfoot Chad. Thanks for being on the show, Chad. We'll see you Wednesday.
See you, buddy.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching today. Thanks for putting your comments in. And don't forget, if you're watching on the rebroadcast, put a comment in. Let's start a conversation even after the fact. God bless each and every one of you. Until next week, I'm Main Event Mike saying peace out. And one pride.
Yeah, yo, it's game time. Ain't no messing around. Huddle Sports Network, the best in town. From NFL rumors to the latest trends, we got all your sports, just tune in, my friends. Catch us on Roku, Fire Stick, take your pick. Facebook, YouTube, where the action's slick. Daily shows that drop like a bomb. From 10 to 11, it's Ken and Ken, stay calm. Huddle up, catch the vibe, feel the rush. Get your